about you, but when I open most harmonica tutors, the thing I notice first of all is all the hieroglyphics, all the symbols. A symbol for which hole to play, a symbol for blow, a symbol for draw, a symbol for a bend, a symbol for a half bend. And this is on top of usually conventional music notation as well, with its clefs and time signatures and bar lines and crotchets and quavers and rests. And I'm thinking, if you're just a blues player or a player of blues-based music, do you really need all that stuff? I mean, if I want to play sad, I'll play or maybe I want to play glad. Or maybe I want to play mad and bad. But how do I know which notes to play? Well, if you've got this far into the video, presumably you're a blues fan, and if you listen to a lot of blues, as you should, you actually assimilate a lot of this subconsciously, the sorts of notes that you should be playing and the style and structure of the music. But there's another point as well, and that's this. Blues is actually a very simple kind of music, and ironically that means that the rules for playing it are actually quite strict. Now, if you don't abide by the rules, no problem. It just means that what you play won't sound bluesy. But the rules are strict, and that tends to mean that there aren't a lot of notes that you actually play. And in turn, that tends to mean that each note has a characteristic role to play. The first step to finding out what these roles are, of course, is to be able to identify each note. Now, in conventional manuals, they usually do this by talking about the third hole blow or the fourth hole draw, etc., which to me seems a very unmusical way of talking about and identifying notes. The musical way is to talk about the note in terms of the interval it makes with the tonic or keynote. Now, to understand this better, we need to go to the piano. I know I've talked about this before, but understanding intervals is absolutely critical for what follows, so bear with me if I just go over the rudiments once again. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now that's a major scale. If we started on the note C, we have the scale of C major. What we want to be able to do is to take any note in the key of C and describe it in terms of the interval that it makes with the keynote. So say I take this note here, it happens to be G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is a fifth above the C. Say I take this note, B as it happens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it is the seventh in the key of C. Say I take D, 1, 2, it is the second in the key of C. Now this is very important because notes described in terms of their intervals actually have a set of properties for that particular key, and this harks back to what I was saying before, that notes have a particular role to play, and the role is most easily understood if the note is described in terms of the interval that it makes with the keynote or tonic. So let's take this over to the harmonica now, and what we want to do is to take all the notes that you're likely to use in blues and express them as intervals. So we'll do this systematically. We'll start at the bottom and do the draw ones first. So beginning at the bottom hole, draw, that is the fifth. That is the tonic, that is the third, that's the fifth, lowered seventh, That's the second, and that's about as far as we need to go in the meantime. Now the one that stands out there is the lowered 7th. You may recall that when I was playing the piano I played the note B and I said that was a 7th. That's the major 7th because it was in the key of C major. This is 1/2 step below that, or a semitone below B, so it's the note B flat, and we call it the lowered 7th, also the blue 7th, and it's one of the 3 blue notes which characterise the blues genre. So that's the lowered 7th, which we get in that case just by drawing on that particular reed. The 2 other blue notes are the lowered 5th and the lowered 3rd. Now these have to be obtained by bending down from the parent reed. So let's look at the 5th. There's the 5th there. We bend down and that is the lowered 5th. The 3rd, that's the lowered 3rd. Now we can get another version of the lowered 7th, and we can get that from the tonic, which is the draw tonic on hole 2. So if we bend down from there, that's the lowered 7th. If I play, you can hear that those are both lowered 7ths, the one I played before and that one I've just played, the low one. So that's another version of the lowered 7th. And finally we can go to the bottom hole draw. That's another version of the lowered 5th. So those are all the draw notes that you're likely to come across in playing blues. Now the technique of bending itself, it's not my purpose here to talk about that. You can find plenty of places on the net that tell you how to do that, but it's essential for being able to play blues. Let's quickly go now over the blow holes. So if I start on the bottom hole and blow, that's the 4th, that's the 6th, that's the tonic, 4th, 6th, tonic, 4th, 6th, tonic, all the way up. So that's a regular pattern. So those are all the notes that you need to be able to play blues adequately, and I've summarised them in this chart. You're welcome to do a freeze frame and take a screenshot of that chart if you want to refer to it later. And in part 2 we'll see how each of these notes has a particular role to play in blues music.